Hi, I'm Brett from PM Squared Consulting. This video is a more detailed explanation of how to implement Viva Goals in a more robust format. So we're going to take advantage of the full suite of Microsoft products. It looks a bit like this. There's still 5 steps to it, but the steps look a bit like this. Step 1 is we need to capture your existing strategy, the core objectives and priorities. This example is Southwest Airlines. So literally, we should be able to sit down with the executive team and convert the existing strategy into, in this example, a strategy map. It could just be a list, but it also needs to link to the existing corporate objectives and corporate key results. And so we can often just take the existing annual plan and extract those data points from it. But the issue is there's more to it than that. So we can then implement CoPilot. Now, what CoPilot is going to allow us to do, and the trick with CoPilot is, yes, it's a GPT, but it looks at both what's in the World Wide Web, what you get with ChatGPT, but also your own proprietary information, and it protects it. It keeps it secret behind your firewall. It doesn't make it accessible to the learning platform. It's all yours. And so what CoPilot can then do is take a look at your objectives and test it. Test it for reasonableness, test it against different scenarios, take it through, Roger Martin's model of what needs to be true in order for the strategy to work and so on. And then it can also help you set stretch targets based on what the organization is capable of, what you've done historically. And that makes the initial model, the strategy map and the weightings, far more robust and validated. But we can then use that and implement it, capture that inside of Viva Goals. So Viva allows you to capture those objectives, the priorities, the goals, the owners, the network of connections, the collaborators, the activities, the projects, the targets, all through objectives and key results, OKRs. From there, you can then use a tool like Amplify to communicate that to your different stakeholders. What does a board need to hear? What do employees need to hear? What do investors need to hear? Customers and so on. And make sure that you've got a consistent message across all distribution channels, Facebook and so forth. And then finally, you can use tools like Viva Topics to embed the new concept and knowledge into existing documents. So hyperlink, keywords so that people know exactly what it means in this year's strategy to make sure that people understand what it's about. So that's step 1, and that's leveraging the existing Microsoft tools. Let's talk about step 2. Step 2 is we need to, what some people call Cascade. What does each department need to do to contribute to that strategy? Now, we just do this through an Excel spreadsheet where we score the impact of each process on each objective. And based on that, identify these black cells, the critical performance nodes. Those critical performance nodes are the key things that each department does that contributes to the corporate strategy. Those black boxes are where we now need to set up our OKRs. So step 2, do that linkage. Step 3 now is to begin identifying what are the key results around each of those black squares. So let's take a look at an example. Let's say customer service, that first black box. Again, we're going to pull in CoPilot. What CoPilot is going to do is take a look at the data that you currently have across all systems and give you some recommendations as to what key results you might want, and even set those stretch targets the next level down based on what that department's been able to historically do. In fact, it'll also identify what are the gaps between how it currently is performing and what needs to get done in order to achieve those targets. But other tools play in, right? So obviously Dynamics 365 gives you a whole bunch of data for free, like that detailed transactional data from all parts of your business, from that full ERP robust system. And again, you get those instantly for free in Goals. What you can also do is use Viva Insights. What Viva Insights does is takes a look at transactional data in particular areas, like Outlook, for example, and begins to interpret how people are performing. And so now I not only get the performance data from Dynamics, but I can see how people are actually acting day to day, how they're performing, what meetings they're going to, are they allocating focus time, are they allocating time to go to meetings and so forth, are they participating in the meetings, are they delivering the right outcomes. So again, more dynamic data in addition to the transactional data from Dynamics. What we also have is Graph. Graph allows you to create connections to external data and external data sources. So those are things like, Salesforce, HubSpot, whatever other tools you have, we can now bring that data in as well, and even relationships between things. In other words, if I have a shared objective, let's identify the organization chart and who might own it inside of that. Graph allows us to identify those things. Then we can begin using tools like Glint, right? Survey tools to see what people's perceptions are, and even Pulse to understand in real time that very focused pulse surveys on how people are seeing specific actions to build agility in your organization. So you can see from this chart, there's a whole bunch of tools inside of the Viva suite and beyond that help us run that OKR solution. Step 3 is now we need to build that out in Goals. Now, Goals allows you a very robust framework for connecting that data set that we've talked about, ownership, organization chart, shared accountabilities, and so forth, and allows you to produce a number of different reports depending on the format that you appreciate, so that literally in a day we can quickly build out that whole structure. Now we've got that built. Day 5, Friday, the next step is to begin enabling your reporting process. Now, we need to report at all levels. So, the lower down you are in the organization, the more frequent the meetings you have. So, daily meetings for sales and IT, weekly meetings for the corporate group, quarterly meetings for the board of directors. And so all those should be sharing that one view of the truth. What comes out of Goals allows us to populate these different reporting structures. So what does that look like? Well, we need to be able to use something like Power BI to begin building custom interactive dashboards for each of your constituents, right? Each individual, each team, each department, each special project, each brand, each product, each region, and so forth. And this allows us to be able to slice and dice that data in a way that becomes meaningful for that team. But what's cool is CoPilot has a lot of contribution here. We can do a bunch of things, such as we can ask CoPilot to monitor what's going on 7x24. Right now, you look at those reports once a day, once a week, once a month, once a fortnight. Now CoPilot can look at it in real time. And when it does so, it can look at both the known issues, in other words, what's happening against those objectives and those key results, but even unknown issues. Does it see patterns that weren't built into your OKRs, but are of concern? So for example, we've seen in some cases, we get a whole bunch of trouble tickets being set up. We can, even though we haven't set that up as an objective or key result, CoPilot can begin to hypothesize what might be causing the problem. What CoPilot can do is give you some expert analysis. So they're just another member of the team. They don't replace your brain, but they give you some additional analysis that you might not have thought of. And then what it might do is be able to make some suggestions. Again, it's not telling you what to do. It's just giving you some suggestions. It's another member of your team. And it can also do things like call meetings. It can identify those things based on graph and your OKRs, figure out who needs to be invited, take a look at Outlook, find out when there's available time, go ahead and schedule that meeting. Then it can set the agenda for the meeting, what are the topics, what are the input data you need to look at, and so forth. Then it can take notes during the meeting and even do follow-up activities. So CoPilot becomes an active ingredient, an active player in making sure your meetings are more effective. And when you do it, we find out that you have about half as many meetings, and each meeting takes about 30% less time to execute because we've done the preparation work and we're going into this thing at full momentum. Then we can use tools like Engage to make sure that we have this ongoing conversation about performance. It doesn't just happen in the meetings, it happens on an ongoing basis. And it also allows us to access the wisdom of your community, not just what's in the leadership team, but that broader context. So this has been a quick overview of what it looks like to implement Goals. Now, it's still 5 steps, right? The steps are pretty straightforward, right? You capture the strategy, you link what departments contribute where, you build your objectives and key results, you put it into your system of record being Goals, and then you go ahead and begin your reporting system. So hopefully this gives you a quick insight on how all the different Microsoft tools combine to make this very powerful and modern working system. Thanks for your time.